All right, so we are back at the Rock Booth with Adrien Palmer. Adrien, how are you liking the show so far?
Oh, it's great. It feels very busy, very energetic. It's awesome to be back at an apparel decorating show. I haven't been to one since Long Beach, so it's good to see everyone, and I think it's going well. Yeah.
Very cool. So where are you working now? Because I know you made like a career change, right?
I did, yeah. I made a pretty big career change. Almost 11 years with Big Picture and then screen printing magazines. And I am now with DTF.com. So DTF Superstore hired me to be the editor-in-chief of a brand new website and newsletter and podcast specific for the direct-to-film space. So the website, which will be launching prior to Printing United, will have tips and tricks and DTF basics, news, new products, shop profiles. We'll be hosting the podcast there. Really anything that if you're in the direct-to-film space or you'd like to get into the direct-to-film space, this will be your go-to spot for education and anything you need to know to succeed in the business.
Very cool. I feel like DTF is, I don't know, maybe even just the last 3 or 4 years really like had its meteoric rise. How do you feel like it complements like an automated screen shop? Because you could theoretically do the art yourself. Why do you feel like automated screen shops should be bringing in some portion of DTF to handle their orders?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a complement to screen printing. And so some people are like, oh, DTF is going to take over. I don't necessarily think so. I think there's always going to be a need for screen printing and screen printing machines, but it's an addition. It's a complement to what you're already doing. So instead of saying no or outsourcing, you can bring in a DTF machine and you can do those prints and those transfers for those smaller level, just instead of doing a really large, if your minimum order quantity is, 40, well, now it can be 1.
Yeah. So if I am thinking about getting into DTF, and I do have one of these machines, like what is the path? What's the easiest path to get into DTF? What machine are you seeing that's working really well? Like, what's the process that I could do to like not have my business be like completely change my business completely? What would you say?
Yeah, well, I think that it's great that a lot of machines are coming over to the US. I think a lot of people were working with a lot of Chinese manufacturers, Asian manufacturers, and maybe not getting that customer service, or something's come in and now it's broken and they really can't get it up and running. So Mimaki, Epson, you're going to have distribution here. And of course, DTF Superstore, distribution company, Equipment Zone, you're going to be able to work directly with people here in the U.S. And from what I'm understanding from shop owners who have brought in, for example, the new Mimaki machines, they're really, really happy with production. And so I think working with your current vendors and your current distributors and saying, what are you hearing from your customers? What are they liking the most? Really talking to them and understanding, how it's going to change your business. But I come from the large format side, so I'm very familiar with this type of technology. And the printing of that is pretty simple. It's not a huge setup like screen printing. There's so many steps and different products that go into, even if you're automatic screen printing, there's so much that goes into it. DTF, not so much.
One thing I like about the DTF is you don't need a lot of space as far as for the equipment itself. Like with screen printing, you do need a lot of space. And screen printing is not going to go away. You're still going to need speed. Like, I think the biggest value for screen printing is speed. You could knock out 1,000 jobs really fast.
Yes.
Right now, DTF cannot do that.
Correct.
Right? I think the value that DTF bring is you don't have to say no anymore. You could get something that is super high detail, a bunch of colors, say yes to that, right? Or say yes to like a medium-sized order using DTF. But like complement that with a screen printing machine, you now have a ninja. Like you could like make good money. Because like I remember being in my shop, when I see an art that comes in and it looks kind of crazy, I'm like, do I even want to have this conversation? You know what I mean? Because like I know I'm going to struggle with it at the press. And having that conversation to change the customer's mind, maybe let's narrow down the colors. It's a tough conversation to have. You could almost eliminate all that with having DTF there, or a DTF option, or a service provider that could give you the what you need.
Yep.
And when your run-of-the-mill jobs comes through, I'm throwing that thing on my press.
Yeah.
Because that's on my screen printing press, because I know I can knock that out in 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed that's interesting with DTF and DTG also to some extent is people not explaining the process to the customers, and that's been really interesting. Like, you're just deciding how you want to fulfill the production, and if for some reason it's a one color, maybe you do screen print it at a small quantity. If it's a multicolor, they're still just going to get the artwork. Have you seen that more and more where, like, maybe we don't need to educate our customers. Maybe they just need a good finished product.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, most customers just want that.
Yeah.
They really aren't interested. But I think there is value and benefits to the customers who do want to know about that process, bringing them into the shop, showing them the process, and showing them the difference between the quality of the prints and even talking about output. You know, well, we can print you this amount or whatever. If they're interested in that, you're going to have a customer for life because they're seeing the behind the scenes. They're feeling very included in the process and they feel like they're making that decision. But if you've got people coming in, I don't know, it's just maybe one-time thing. We're having a bachelorette party this weekend. I need 15 shirts. You know that's going to be a DTG or DTF project.
Yeah.
You can crank that out. But for those long-time customers and are going to be really recurring, there's benefits to bringing them in and showing them and helping them feel like they're part of it.
Yeah, you said you're launching the website. When is that going to be live?
Yes.
And when the newsletters is going to start coming out?
Yeah, we plan to launch prior to Printing United. So, gosh, it's already, a month away. So yeah, stay tuned. Then you can go to dtf.com right now and you can sign up. And once everything's launched, you'll get an email and you'll be part of it.
Nice.
So we'll gather your information that way. My email is Adrien at DTF. Pretty easy to remember. So if anyone wants to reach out to directly, if I'm looking for people for shop profiles, looking for people to join the podcast, anyone who wants to share their own tips and techniques, looking for sources now. So yeah, I'm really, really excited. Building something from scratch is just an awesome thing to be able to do. And I really feel like this is the future of the industry. So happy to be part of it.
What do you think is a good recommendation for people going to Printing United and other trade shows to really get your money's worth and not just walk in a circle and leave? How do you feel like people, they build relationships, they get the education versus, maybe they just don't know what to do and they're overwhelmed?
I think you need to have a goal. Why are you going?
Yeah.
Is it to have some happy hour beers with your friends and hang out?
That's a good reason to go.
That's a good reason to go, and it's super fun. Yes, exactly. But do you have a goal? Do you have a specific machine or an ink or maybe a new supplier that you want to work with? Have a goal in mind and make sure that you are focusing in on that. If you've never been to a trade show before, talk to someone who has and see what they think. For me, coming from the media side, a trade show is very interesting for me because I am going from meeting to meeting to press conference to meeting. I'm all over that place. So talk to someone who is another shop owner, get their feedback, and then try to connect with some vendors beforehand and make those meetings. Say, I'm going to meet you on Thursday at 1 p.m. It's very difficult to sometimes find the right person that you need. There are going to be people there, of course, that are willing to help you. But if you have something scheduled ahead of time, it's going to be really helpful.
Yeah,
for
one
you.
thing I remember my first trade show, I was so overwhelmed. I don't even exit, and it was at Long Beach, and just the size of that trade show, just kind of you're dizzy. You're just dizzy, right?
Oh yeah, you're tired. Like an hour one.
So one thing I do now when I come to trade show is, literally on my phone, I'll have a note app open. You'll be meeting so many people. Yeah. If you meet somebody and you have a quick conversation, you could just do a quick little note on your phone, and later on you could just recapture that. Yeah. Also, if you, I guess on the side of somebody that's going to be at the trade show looking for business, just have something that somebody could scan really quick. To share your information. But really being super strategic on who you want to meet. Yes. In advance, for example, these shows, they put out who the exhibitor is going to be. You can go to that page. And just check it out, book stuff in advance. So it's you could make this really impactful, and it's a place where I built most of my network.
Yes.
Right? Right?
Well, and that's the thing about networking. We're joking about, getting beers with your friends, but it's so important to go to those events and go to those things and actually be, vulnerable and talk to people, because you're going to learn so much from others.
Yeah.
You're going to gain industry friends, but you're going to gain, even prospective clients. There's so much there. And then, yes, have that focus on what you need, but also be willing to be open.
Yeah.
So say, I'm headed straight to the Mamaki booth. I'm getting that DTF. That's it. Go look at other booths too.
Yeah.
Be open-minded. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the relationships will blow you away, because 3 years down the line, you can have this problem and somebody can bail you out, and you might have only talked to them 3 or 4 times at trade shows, but you still have some sort of relationship. You have their cell phone number, and in this industry, everyone's relatively friendly, so it's pretty easy to approach people and be like, hey, if this is ever happening, can I reach out to you in some way about it? I've literally had Justin, who runs Barrel Maker in Chicago. I was literally stuck in Wisconsin and my package didn't arrive, and Justin was sending an Uber from Chicago to Wisconsin to give me supplies because UPS failed.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not like we're best friends, but
he did that for you
at events, and you can reach out to each other and be like, can you please save my life?
That's awesome.
It's very cool to have that kind of camaraderie in a business and not just be competitive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Gavin's been part of the screen printing editorial advisory board for, a few years now. And I think even something like that, where you're meeting with people on a regular basis, you're building that community and you're able to do things like that. That Justin and Aaron are so awesome. I'm not surprised that they did that. But yeah, things like that, meeting people. There might be a job that you can't fulfill in that city that you just met someone for. There's a lot of opportunities there.
So you are at the you are at the United Together booth.
Yes.
Your badge has United Together.
Yes, we've got our awesome sticker.
So what is United Together, and what are you doing with it?
Sure. Unite Together. Well, Unite stands for Understand New Ideas Through Empathy. And we are a nonprofit within the print industry and beyond to make it more diverse and inclusive.
Yeah.
And so it really started with Rock Together, which was more of an internal program. Then it kind of built out to Women Rock, which I was involved with because of the Women in Screen Printing Awards. We started to have conversations. Maybe this should be part of the apparel industry. Why are we just limiting it to Rock customers? Then it's I have the connection to the large format side with a big picture. Maybe, we have Josh Caruth on the board with Printing United. Why don't we branch this out to the print industry and beyond? Packaging, commercial, large format, etc. And, so our goal is to, hands down, make the industry more diverse and inclusive. And things that we're doing are working with underprivileged schools to get donated equipment and supplies. So for one example, Park Rose, it's a school in Oregon. They now have a full screen printing shop with Rock machinery in their art department.
Nice.
And for me, it's so important because you look at some of the numbers in terms of ages. So, for example, the average age for a digitally printed wall covering installer is 56. That's pretty old. We need people who are younger coming into this industry, and I think going to schools is so important. So we're doing things like that. We're working with organizations like the Net, which they help get you involved with hiring people with disabilities in your shop. And so they'll connect you, they'll have training programs, they'll really work with you on that. Also, partnering with the Women in Screen Printing Awards, Women in Wide Format Awards, showing that there's a career path for young women in the industry to be shop owners. So there's a lot of different paths. We just had our first true subcommittee meeting. So we've got social media and marketing and website, education, and then development. And so we have a really great community of people who are working towards all of these things. If you go to unitetogether.us, you can take our pledge and you can share some information about yourself and either what you're doing to make the printing industry more inclusive or what you think needs to happen. And then you'll be added to our email list and you'll be let know when our next town halls are. And we'll be at Printing United. We'll have a booth there and at Impressions Long Beach. So that's what we're doing.
Wow. Yeah, it's cool to be doing something where you're trying to push change forward. And not just make money. It's it's nice to have that kind of positive impact.
Yes,
I think it's really important to be super intentional about it, right? And just have the mechanism to bring everybody together and have the companies collaborate I know some of the companies that's in the group are even competitors.
Yes.
And they all kind of like, all right, let's do this. Even though we're competing in the marketplace, but we could still do this thing that's good for the whole industry. Like, we're not going to be able to do this forever. Somebody else has to do it after we're gone, right? So, like, educating the next generation, including other people in it, different class, different race, different genders.
Yeah.
It's important. And being intentional and having this, I think it's the right thing to do.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you both. I think that it is important, especially to be intentional, and we want to leave this industry as a place where people see themselves. You know, and I think even, some of the conversations we've had in terms of just women in print specifically, because that's just what I've been closest with, is like having more representation in speakers and sessions, here on the show floor, making sure that that's more diverse, making sure that, whoever you are, you see someone in the industry and you see a career path for yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Well, thanks so much for stopping by the booth.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Any contact information you want to share real quick?
Yeah, so you can go to unitetogether.us, and that is where you can take the pledge. We have an entire section of resources, also an area that says where our next events will be.
Nice.
And you can also follow us on Instagram at Unite Together.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Adrien.